Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara and it's June and Sonnet has her new Maker's Box out. This is the first year anniversary of it, and if you've been following, you'll know that the box looks a little different, so she's decided to change up the look. And this was actually a masterboard she created at Upcycled Retreat recently, and so that is displayed on her box and it's beautiful. So we're going to go through. Connie from the Painted Photographer has 2 new exclusive papers in here, as well as Recycled Treasures. And there's some DIY paint and Fusion paint, and then a sample of the milk paint. So Fusion, we're going to be using Tuscan Orange today and Midnight Blue. And both of these go really, really well with the decoupage paper. From DIY, there's Blue Iris. It's one of my favorite blues. And then there's also Liquid Sunshine. So those are going to be the colors that we're using. And then the milk paint from Sweet Pickins is Navy Blues. So these are all going to be so pretty together. And every month Sonnet has decided to put in a bonus napkin. So we've got that really pretty bird and butterfly one. And this first paper is Royce's Botanical Ephemera, and this is one of my favorite papers. I absolutely love every aspect of this paper. I almost used all of it because it's just that good. It has the ephemera backgrounds in it, the typography, the stamping postal stuff on it. It's got birds and butterflies and floral. Look at this goodness. It's so good. And I love the colors of the birds. Just everything about it. I just absolutely love it. And one thing about the Maker's Box is if you are a subscriber, you are eligible to buy more of these papers. They are exclusive to the box, so this is the only way to get them. And then you guys, this one. This is called Crockery Masterboard, and if you've been following me for a while, you know I absolutely love crocks and vintage items and old stuff. And so this is going to pair very well in my decor. And so when you open this up, it has different types of crocks in it. It's got the word crockery on it, and I absolutely love this. Look at this, you guys. The blue and white crock, seriously. That's so pretty. Love, love, love this. And I am a collector of the red wing crocks myself, so there's a few numbers I still need to get, but definitely a fan of crockery. And then up next we have Connie from the Painted Photographer. So this first one is called Be Kind, and it's a cute little beehive with a bee and a little tree branch. Super, super cute. Loving the colors. So you can see this is what she uses. She uses the DIY paints, which is why we have the Blue Iris and the Liquid Sunshine. And so she uses those to paint her drawings every month, which is super cool. And then this one, you guys, so pretty. It's called Willow Blues. And look at the crock on this. Oh, so pretty. The blue and white. I love it. Also a fan of blue and white dishes and things like that. So I'm a fan of many collections, actually. All right, so we're going to move on to the first project. And this is a wooden bowl that my uncle actually turned himself. He used to make his own little bowls and trinket dishes and candlesticks. So we're going to turn it into a little trinket dish. And I'm going to go in with a couple of coats of the Blue Iris. And then once those are completely dry, I'm going to take a baby wipe and wipe that back just a little bit. There's just like a ridge around the outside of the bowl there that I want, like for normal wear and tear that you would normally see. So I just want to bring back a little bit of the antique vibe to it, like it's been sitting around for a while. So we're going to take a little bit of distressing with the baby wipe. Then on the inside, we're going to go in with the Liquid Sunshine just around the top part of it, just like that. And it did take about 3 coats to get a good coverage. And then on the bottom, I used my Fusion's Picket Fence and I painted the bottom white because whenever you decoupage, if you want those colors on your decoupage paper to really pop, you need to have a really light background. So we're going to take Connie's paper, the Be Kind, and I'm going to use the water method to trace around a circle area and have like more of a rustic edge. And then we're going to decoupage that on the base of that bowl there. And to make it look a little bit more old and vintage, I do take a little bit of some dark wax and go ahead and go around the whole thing just to kind of grunge it up a little bit. So
headlights on the highway, if you only knew, being back here always makes me think of you. When the world is sleeping, do you think of me? With the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever ago. This town's so quiet, this time of year, with the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home.
So this following project is a pretty simple one. I found this piece out thrifting. I think it's like a little butter dish maybe. You guys can let me know in the comments what else this could be used for besides trinkets and jewelry and whatever. But the finish was coming off on the wooden top, so I'm just going to go ahead and sand it down smooth. And then I have to use this botanical ephemera paper. It's so pretty. So I picked out the perfect bird for it. And I went ahead and I wanted that color to come through, that wooden tone. And so I'm not going to actually paint it white. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it and decoupage it right on. So this is something that you can do, but just be sure to not have any like markings underneath or big knots, because those will come through that decoupage paper and you'll be able to see it in the background. So if it's a pretty easy plain background, you can get a more natural tone without using white paint. So just know that for the future. You don't always have to have a light background, but you'll want to make sure there's nothing underneath that's going to be showing through that you don't want it to. So I went ahead and just decoupaged that on, and I'm decoupaging on the top, and I did cut those corners to kind of be able to round those out a little bit, and then let it dry, and that's basically done. So fun little project. Now this next one I picked up actually at the bins, and it looks like it was a Hobby Lobby piece, and they wanted $29.99 for it, which is crazy to me. But anyway, it does have a wooden frame with the metal insert, and I liked the metal insert and the way it was distressed. So we're going to go ahead and just put that aside and keep it that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the stickers off using my heat gun, and we're going to place Connie's paper inside. Now, I want this frame to be a little bit different, so I'm going to go in with the midnight blue. I'm not using a heavy coat on this because I'm also going to put in the blue iris as some highlighted accents around the frame. So I'm just doing one coat of the midnight blue, just real quick. not really paying attention to getting into every little detail, although it kind of looks like I am, but I promise you I'm not. And then once that dries, I went ahead and went over with the blue iris. And you always want to know that when your DIY clay-based paints or chalk paints, when you use those, the wet color is always a little darker than the dry. So when I go to put it on, you can hardly see where I'm putting the paint, but when it dries, you can definitely see it. And then again, when you either wax over the top or seal it, it kind of goes back to a darker color, but you can still see it, and I think it turned out great. And then I'm going to use her Willow Blues paper that she painted and drew, and I'm going to frame it because it is a gorgeous piece of art. So if you're interested and you're not currently a subscriber, she's got a lot more perks to being a Maker's Box subscriber, and there is a wait list that you can get on. However, I am one of her creative team members, and so I have a code or a link that you can use to skip the wait list and get right into getting this box at your doorstep every month and being able to create for yourself and using these beautiful exclusive papers, experimenting with different paints and different colors. It's just a fun way to kind of fill your creative soul, so to speak. And it's a little Christmas present every month, and I love it. So that'll be in my description link below if you are interested. Okay, so this fourth project, I ended up buying some of these wooden tissue boxes off of Amazon, and I think they're great for these little projects, decoupage projects especially. And so I'm going to go ahead and they are kind of a rough cut a little bit. So I'm just going to sand some of the corners down and make sure everything is smooth. And we're going to go ahead and use the Sweet Pickins milk paint in navy blues. If you've never used milk paint, don't be afraid. It's just in powder form. You use the same amount of powder and water, and you mix it together for about a minute. And then let it sit for about 10 minutes, and it's going to thicken up to like a milkshake consistency. And then you're going to paint it on. And with this raw wood, the first coat's always going to go down into the wood, no matter what kind of paint you use. So what we do is we just paint the first coat on, let it dry, and then go on to your second coat and third if it's needed, but usually it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint the top and the very bottom in navy blue, and I'm going to paint the sides with my picket fence because we're going to be using that napkin, that bonus napkin that I got in my Maker's Box to decoupage the sides. And this turned out so cute. And I thought, since decoupaging the sides, the corners, they come together a little weird. And so what I did was I just dipped my finger. It's kind of like finger painting, going back to kindergarten. I dipped my finger in the milk paint and just rubbed it along the edge of that corner there, and then blended it out a little bit. So it's kind of like a distress with paint, I guess. But it just kind of made it look a little more put together. So you can see that paint's just like soaking right in. You can kind of see that grain already coming through. But don't be alarmed. That's okay. Milk paint is great on raw wood because it gives you a nice satin finish. You just have to take a really high grit sandpaper in between each coat and you'll get like a baby butt smooth finish. I love it. So using my Fusion Decoupage Transfer Gel, which is my absolute favorite, I'm going to go in and decoupage each side, and I'm going to put in a little blurb about if you are interested in Fusion products. They are on my website at thereclaimedranch.com. And this transfer gel is just my favorite. A lot of people use the DIY liquid patina, which is great also, but it's more runny, and I guess it makes me feel like I have more control with the gel type product. Like, it's not gonna drip everywhere on me, and I'm already a messy crafter. I don't need more drips in my life. So once I get this all decoupaged on there, I'm just gonna cut the corners as close as I can to keep from bumping into the next part where I have to decoupage on the other side. So once that's done, I'm going to let it dry. And then I go in with my little finger sander and remove the excess, always going in a downward motion. And it gives me a nice clean cut finish, which I love. I probably should have waited to seal this, but usually when I'm decoupaging, I go right over the top with another coat of decoupage gel. Well, with these napkins, it's a little bit different. They tear really easy, but they also bleed really easy. So there was a couple of places where the butterflies kind of bled a little bit, but that's okay. One way you can do it is you can just use a spray sealer. That way you're not painting over the top and smearing that ink. And actually, it looks like I added the ink or the paint with a paintbrush, just a thin line, and smeared it with my finger. So apologize, I did half finger painting. And again, I'm just going in with my finger sander, lightly giving it a downward push, and it comes right off. And I love this one because this little box opens on the bottom. And let me tell you, I kind of forgot that I decoupaged over that. I had to go back in the next day and like cut out the bottom portion so that I can actually slide it out and put tissue paper in it. So heads up on that. So this next piece I've had forever, and I loved it because it's a little 4-pane mirror like flower box, and it had a little heart on it. As you can see, I took that off, and I just haven't really had the gumption to do anything with it. I was like, what am I going to do with this piece? It's kind of really, really outdated. Not sure if anybody would really like it. But then I'm like, I am going to decoupage on the mirrors. So again, I'm going to go in because we don't want to waste our paint. I'm going to use that navy blue milk paint, and I'm going to give it, this took 3, almost 4 coats to cover completely. And because of the stain or whatever they used, I used, TSP to wipe it all down and stuff, but whatever they used is kind of repelling it a little bit. But it ended up sticking just fine. And once I did that, then I did go back and distress just the inner corners of the windows and on the edges, things like that. Nothing too crazy. And then I wasn't worried about paint getting on the mirrors because I was going to paint it anyway, white. And then I'm going to take that beautiful botanical ephemera paper, and I'm going to go in each pane, just cut out a square and decoupage it onto those 4 there. And then I went in with the Clear Fusions Furniture Wax and waxed to seal the whole piece. And I also added some of the dark wax into the corners of the paper just to kind of give it more of that old vibe, kind of antique-ish look to it. And then to cover up those holes where that heart was, I was looking for a really cool old drawer pull, but I didn't have what I was looking for, and I didn't want to go out and get something new. So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking the Blossoms Spring mold from Redesign with Prima, which is also on my website. And I used the amazing casting resin with that. I casted the entire mold, and it's got these cute little birds on a branch. And I ended up actually painting the entire thing in color. And then I went ahead and used my Type Bond glue to glue it on the front there. And then again, I did the clear wax on top, and then I went over with dark wax because the colors that I was using were pretty bright. I ended up using the Tuscan orange and the yellow, and so I wanted to tone those colors down, and so I used some wax to do that. And that's a great way to tone down your colors. You still have the color in there, but it doesn't look so in your face and bright. So I will let you listen to some music, and I hope you enjoy watching me put this project together. Okay, so the final project for today consists of using that beautiful crockery decoupage paper. I have these big, thin boards, these arched boards that I got, and I love using decoupage paper on them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just cut out the shape that I need with the crocks that I want on there. And it is a little short, but I'll show you how you can fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and going to paint this all white with my Fusion's picket fence. And once that's all set and ready to go, then I'm going to go ahead and decoupage that first crockery paper on. And when I first started the decoupaging, I was like, why isn't this going on as smooth? And then I was like, oh yeah, because when you decoupage, especially a big piece like this, you want to use your Mr. bottle to open the fibers in the paper so that it can move a little bit easier. So the first portion, it was kind of tough for me to get going, but once we got it going, then it worked out fine. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a nice even coat of the decoupage gel. You don't want it too thick because then you'll end up getting a lot of wrinkles in there. So actually, but I was going for wrinkles on this, you guys, because it's old. Crocs are usually old and vintage and worn and weathered, and they're not perfect at all. They have cracks and chips in them. And that's what I love about Crocs is all the imperfections that they have. So I was actually trying to get the bigger ones out, but I wanted some of the little bubbles to stay as creases, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the espresso, I believe it's espresso furniture wax from Fusion, and I'm going to go over those creases and those wrinkles with that just to kind of bring them out a little bit more so that they look like cracks. I know I'm probably crazy. Some people get upset about wrinkles and things, and I just go with it. Like, whatever. It is what it is. I love imperfections. I love old ironstone with the cracks and the crazing and the stains. Some people like the more cleaner versions of those, the white look, that's very clean, which is fine too. I like those too, but I'm like a young person with an old vibe, I guess. Old soul, maybe. I like the worn and weathered look and pieces that have a story to tell. So once I got the paper wet, it seemed to work out a little bit better. But see, I'm trying to keep some of those in the middle there, those little bubbles and creases. And I work those kind of down and in with my paintbrush there. And it turned out perfect. So you can't quite see them yet. But once we get that wax on there, they're going to pop out a little bit more and it looks super cool. So for the bottom strip, I'm going to go ahead and piece in a couple pieces on the bottom. And this piece is a masterboard, and so it has different backgrounds and different ephemera and stuff on there. So that's perfect for this type of decoupaging, because you can piece in something like this with it looking okay. Now, some pieces are very intricate where they have to have the same pattern the whole way. And so piecing in a decoupage like this is a little difficult. But because this is such a cool piece that already has different backgrounds and stuff, it just looks like it's more different backgrounds. And then there's still one big crock that I want to cut out and put on here. So I'm going to use the water method. But as I'm thinking back on it now, I probably should have straight cut this out with the scissors, because the other crocks are perfectly uniform. Like, they don't have this edge. Typically when you're putting another piece of decoupage on top of one another, you want a more organic edge so that your eye isn't drawn to the straight edges. I mean, it still looks fine, but just for people that, want a more professional look or whatever, I love imperfections, like I said, so it works for me. But see, I'm going to go ahead and decoupage it right on there, and it looks like it's always meant to be there. And so it turns out perfect. So I'll always do a starter strip, and then this is a smaller piece, so I don't have to mist it as much. or at all, I should say. So I just went ahead and put that on there, let it dry, and then I took my little finger sander and cut off the edges with the finger sander right here, always in a downward motion. And I use a pretty gritty paper for this. I think mine is like an 80. Some people like to use 120. It's up to your preference, but the higher you go, obviously, the longer it's going to take you to get that extra paper off of there. And so after this, I'm going to go ahead and use that darker wax to bring out those imperfections. And then I was thinking to myself, this is that pretty espresso furniture wax. I have a whole other side that you can stain it, but I'm like, look at those. Sorry, I get distracted, ADHD. Look at those wrinkles pop out, you guys. Doesn't it look like cracks and distressing? It's so cool. I love it. Okay, back on track. So the backside is plain, and I was like, what if somebody wanted to buy this and have the crockery side year-round for the most part, and then for Christmas, all they have to do is flip it around? I'm like, that's genius. So I got out my Holly Jolly, what's it called? Holly Jolly from Redesigned by Prima. It's on my website. And I'm going to decoupage a Santa on the backside so that all you have to do, you can have this up year-round on a mantle or wherever, and you just flip it over and you're ready for Christmas. So I thought that was pretty genius. I don't know what you guys think, but you can tell me in the comments. Just be nice. Okay, so same thing. See how this is a little bit too short? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the main part of it on. And because the background is kind of the same as the front, where it has different ephemeras and stamps and different stuff going on, I can go ahead and piece in the piece that I cut off to the top, and you pretty much wouldn't even know it was different pieces there. So that's the joy of decoupaging, is you can layer and layer and make your own picture, which is pretty cool. All right, so here's the first couple pieces. See how that blue iris kind of pops off of that midnight blue? So pretty. Love Connie's papers. And then here's my little Be Kind trinket dish that I did, and the little bird butter bowl trinket dish, whatever you guys think. But here you can see where I did the dark wax and kind of grunged that little bowl up a bit. But I love how these guys turned out. I love the Maker's Box because you can build your own vignettes with all of these pieces. And I did 6 different projects, and some of them are pretty good size. And I still have leftovers with the different papers and things. And so you get your bang for your buck out of these boxes, I tell you what. And I am a FOMO person, so exclusivity for me is... It tugs at my heart. Like, I have to have them. I don't know about you, but I love rare and exclusive things. And so this is definitely totally in my wheelhouse. And I loved how these projects turned out. I am not sure which is my favorite, honestly. I do like this window box, but that crockery paper, I just love it. Those little imperfections that look like, I mean, she's even got like little cracks in the paper, and so it just fits perfect. And I really don't want to sell it, but I don't have anywhere to put it. So I know somebody will enjoy that. And to be able to just flip it around and have a dual-sided item that you can use year-round is just key. And so let me know what you guys think in the comments. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. And we will see you next Monday. Take care. Bye.